All right, welcome back to Always Moving Forward. Today I have Fred Lynch. Fred Lynch is formerly a former member of P.I.D.
P.I.D?
P.I.D.
Oh yeah, there it is. That's me over there. Well, a long time ago.
So P.I.D. is one of the founding Christian rap groups. A lot of you guys know about Lecrae and
Andy, Mineo, Trip Lee, great guys, all of them, great guys and girls. There's some amazing folks that are out there doing it now.
But they all got their start because of guys like you.
Yep.
So before I start, I want to tell a little story before I let you get your journey. So I grew up in Chicago, right outside Chicago. And back in the day, we were listening to NWA, Big Daddy Kane, Run DMC, all the
all the classics.
I remember my my younger brother, came home one day, and he's like, "Hey, this kid at school slipped us this tape, and it was a P.I.D. tape." And I'm like, "They have Christian music, Christian rap music?" And so we played it. That was the first time I even heard you guys.
Man.
So
back in Chicago, huh?
Back in Chicago, somebody
cool.
slipped us a tape, man. I was like, so and then I had no idea we were going to move to Texas at that time. So we eventually moved to Texas, and then I started working as a volunteer at a place called Footloose. Over at That's back in the day.
Back in the day, man.
So
oh my gosh,
Footloose. You guys performed over at Footloose, so I got to see you guys live. And then now here I am sitting down talking to you and be able to tell your story, man. So it's an honor for me to have you here on the show.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
So thanks so much for being on the show.
Sure thing, man. Sure thing.
I told you kind of how the format goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we're going to talk about kind of where it all started. Like you growing up before even P.I.D. Like where you grew up, what life was like, and then we'll move on to from there into where you found your passion and your purpose. And, so
gladly.
I'll let you
Thank you,
brother.
Well, my name is Fred Lynch, and I was born actually in Dallas, in Texas. Back in the late '60s. So I am 55 years old now. I was born in 1967.
Oh wow. Okay.
So just like at the height of so much turmoil, all that's going on in the United States and going through major changes. My dad was a 100% disabled vet. He served in Vietnam. My mom fell in love with my dad in junior high school.
Oh wow!
So they knew each other since like the 7th, 8th grade.
Wow!
And they met on the playground, and they fell in love, and so it always kind of a true love. But my dad had a lot of issues. He came up in a rough situation, rough family, and it was a kind of a lower middle class family. So on the outside looking in, everything looked great.
Right.
But once you closed the door every night, all chaos would break loose and so on and so forth. And so my dad had along with his other 8 brothers and sisters, they had a strong hold on how to kind of show that everything's looking good, everything's on the outside, but knowing that it's a lot of mayhem and pain and brokenness. On the inside.
So you think that was something that's like passed down generation?
Oh, I think totally. I totally think that's the case. And science shows us today that so much of trauma is passed on in the genes, and how that trauma is expressed. I think to a degree, in the sense, you can also say that many times, many of the trials that our ancestors have gone through, it's almost like the body is trying to say, okay, I'm going to try to tackle that problem again. It's almost like if you're trying to do a math problem and you try one time and it comes out wrong, and so you scrap it and try it all over again, to a sense where it's like, I'm going to get this right if I just keep on working at it. I think that's part of my story. That's my story. I am actually a third, so I'm Fred Douglas Lynch III. My dad's name was Fred Douglas Lynch, and his dad's name was Fred Douglas Lynch. And so my granddad moved from the Carolinas. They moved from Spartanburg, South Carolina, to Dallas. Moved in the dead of night. And a lot of it was because of some of the same brokenness that my granddad was involved in and dealt with. A lot of brokenness in terms of physical and sexual brokenness.
Right.
And he was involved in a relationship with someone that once that person's father found out, he was after my dad.
Oh, wow.
Or my granddad, rather. My granddad.
Right.
And so my granddad left under the cloak of night.
Oh, wow.
And left and moved to Dallas. And when he moved to Dallas, that's when my dad met my mom in Dallas. Yeah. And my mom grew up, same thing, kind of lower middle class family back in the 60s. And so she met my dad. And my dad, played the piano, sang, danced, and so did many of his other brothers and sisters. And that was part of kind of keeping the monster at bay at home,
right.
Is the entertainment and having fun and laughing and joking and kind of keeping that. So she thought this was the coolest family in the world. It's better than looking at television. I'm going to go over and hang out with them.
Right.
So that's what she'd do. And never knew that type of brokenness was going on in the home.
Right.
And so she got married to my dad. She actually got pregnant with my older brother, so I'm a middle child.
Okay.
And so she was 17, and a senior in high school, and got pregnant. And hard for her side of the family, my grandparents and all of that. That was rough for them, but they loved her, embraced her. Right. And so she had my older brother. Then she got married, and they had me, and then my younger sister. And so grew up in Dallas. Okay. Actually grew up first for 3-4 years of my life in Dallas, in Texas, and grew up in that brokenness. Wow. My mom found out, and my mom was my hero. I'm a mama's boy to the bone, dog. I ain't even ashamed to say it. Right. I am a mama's boy. My mother is my hero because she saved my life. Not only did she give me life, but she saved my life. In that brokenness, my dad was going through a lot of pain coming back from Vietnam. Right. He had a lot of flashbacks. He would walk through the house with a butcher knife at night. Oh, wow. On patrol, saying that nobody's going to come in and hurt my family. Not realizing that there was already a monster on the inside of the house hurting the family. Right. And my mom just kind of tried to deny it, just like, I don't know, maybe he's just going through with the war and so on and so forth. Long story short, once she realized what really was going on, that she said, I can't have this happening with my babies. And so she one day she said, okay, what we're going to do is, and I had to be about 3 or 4. I don't remember any of this. My brother remembers everything completely vividly. Wow. He still wakes up in nightmares, to this day. But he remembered everything. And so she said, hey, we're going to go and we're going to play Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. And we're going to go over to Grandma's and Granddad's house, which was probably, this is back in Dallas in the 60s. So everybody, it was a black neighborhood. We all lived in the same area. Yeah. So it was probably about 6-7 blocks. So we're all going to, so she was like, y'all just travel, come behind me, and I'm going to lead, and we're going to sing Hi Ho, Hi Ho. My brother was like, Mama, it's hot outside. He had to be about 6 years old. And she's like, it's okay, it's all right. And it was the middle of summer. So my dad went to sleep, and she said, okay, we're going to do it as soon as he went to sleep. Right. And he went to sleep, and so we all got in the line. There was only 3 of us. The baby, she wasn't probably big enough to walk herself, my younger sister. So we got behind Mama and walked behind her, and we singing for 6-7 blocks, and we get to Grandmama and Granddaddy's house. And as soon as she gets to the door, she knocks on the door, and she just collapses when they open the door at the door frame. And she said, he's touching my babies. Oh, wow. He's touching my babies. I can't take this anymore. And she gathered enough courage to figure out how to get out of that situation, and she got us out of that situation. Right. Moved us to California, San Francisco. Okay. And so I grew up, from about 5-6 years old on into middle school in San Francisco, California. Oh, okay. And that's where I got my love for inner city. That's where I got my love for hip hop. Right. I still remember the time I first heard my hip hop song. It was I'll tell you this. Okay, we heard some kind of some stuff that was the first hip hop song that I heard was Rapper's Delight. Okay. Right. And what happens? I remember cleaning up Saturdays. And I'm sure you go back like this too. As Mama and Dad is like, you have to clean up before you go play. Yeah. Before you get any of them.
Household chores.
Yeah, household chores before you get the cartoons in the morning. get them chores done, clean up that bathroom. So I was cleaning up the living room.
And it wasn't a choice either. There was
no choice.
Yeah,
it was like, how do you feel about this? Yeah. No, you got to do this.
You did it quickly, and then you get outside.
Yeah, and you do it right. I remember once, man, I tried to do it quick, and it was like, come back in and double do it. You know, you don't do it, you got to do it right. So anyway, doing the work, and I'm vacuuming the living room, and we had the music up loud.
Right.
And at that time, Good Times from Chic. Good times.
Right.
Doom, doom. These are that jam.
Right.
That was so the bass line came on.
Doom,
doom, doom, doom, doom, doom, doom, doom. You know.
Right.
And I'm vacuuming to the beat. I'm enjoying it. And then all of a sudden it looped. And back then they only played records.
Right.
On a record player. Okay, so it was real actual vinyl. So we had this joke that they played on, and it was KSOL. I'll never forget the radio station in San Francisco.
Right.
KSOL. They would do a joke if the record ever scratch or skip. Right. They would just call it Static from the Attic, and they'd make a big joke of it and everything.
Right.
So when it looped back,
right,
and didn't start singing Good Times, I thought, oh, Static from the Attic!
Right.
And I'm listening now because I'm intrigued. It's like, this is just a loop. First time I ever heard it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I heard words coming out of this loop.
Right.
And I said a hip, a hop, a hippie to the hip hop. And I'm like, what is this?
Right.
And as he's rapping, now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat. I stop vacuuming. I go to the speaker, and I like, I'm kneeling in front of the speaker like, what is this? Because as he was telling the story,
right.
Have you ever been over a friend's house to eat and the food just don't taste no good?
Right.
The macaroni soggy, blah, blah, blah. The chicken tastes like wood, you know?
Right.
I'm seeing all of this.
Right.
Not only am I seeing it, I'm like envisioning that story. I'm in the story. I found myself in his story.
Right.
That's why I say that a lot of kids, you know, when as rap over the next 20, 30 years would have progressed, a lot of kids that were not necessarily from the quote-unquote hood,
right.
I think that's the reason why they got into rap. They saw themselves. It was like watching a movie in their mind as the words would go to the beat.
Right.
So I saw myself in this guy's story, and I fell in love with it. And of course, back then, you know, just 70s by then, you know, they wear a song out.
Right.
So they at least played about 4 or 5 more times.
Right.
As soon as they start playing it, I tape that bad boy. I got that old, you know, that portable tape recorder.
Right.
Because
I know the struggle back then.
They don't know the struggle, man. They ain't talking about an iPod.
Yeah, no CD player.
No, none of that.
We were talking about kids that the other day. We're like, you had to wait. First of all, you had to wait for the song to come on.
That's right.
And then you got to hope that the DJ's not talking. They always talk through the song.
Yes.
And then you just wait. As soon as that beat hits,
you hit it. Yeah, you click it.
Button.
Yeah, it wasn't no streaming.
Right?
It wasn't no streaming. No. So it came on. I memorized it because that was a weekend.
Right.
I wanted to be the first kid coming back Monday to memorize the song and sing this song just to get them points, right? Get them cool points. So I memorized it, fell in love with hip hop, and I just growing up off of it and fell in love with it, never realizing that I would find myself in hip hop culture and being, in a sense, you know, kind of one of the pioneers of Christian hip hop, and would do that. So that's kind of my story overall. Wow. You know, grew up in San Francisco. At high school, I moved back from San Francisco to Dallas, Texas, and moved with my great aunt and uncle. It was my mother's aunt and uncle, and they led me to Christ and discipled me. And it was in there that house, man, that I first considered the idea of utilizing rap. And I thought I played. In fact, that whole the portable cassette players.
Right.
I took 2 quarters. This is how. Okay, so this was my makeshift studio back in the day.
Right.
I took 2 portable cassette players.
Right.
I took 1 cassette player and I beatboxed on it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
Then I played that beatbox.
Right.
Played that beatbox
on a separate.
And recorded
the
beatbox playing and me rapping over the beatbox that I just had recorded.
Wow.
And then if I needed another track, so I needed a backup track after I rapped.
Right.
I played the video tape of me rapping to me beatboxing.
Right.
And recorded it again. It was my 3-track, 4-track.
Right.
It was back in the day. That's how I first did.
That's innovative too.
And,
Man.
I was just a kid. It was the summer. I didn't have nothing to do.
Right.
So I did it, and I'll never forget it because it was so Curtis Blowish. My first rap. It was come one, come all to the best story ever told before. It's about a man called Jesus Christ, the one who came to give his life. You know that.
Right.
Ha ha.
Right.
You know. And I just did it. After I did it, I had to be maybe 14.
Oh wow.
15. I was like, oh, that's fun. Oh well. Never knowing that 4 years later, I would get the opportunity to get signed and actually start doing raps professionally and travel. And I'm blessed. I'm grateful. So for the next 15, 25 years after that, I would have been able, and I have been able to raise my family and off of doing what I love, traveling and preaching and speaking and teaching and performing, rapping.
Wow.
And so that's been my story, man.
So when did you first decide to take it,
Seriously?
public? Yeah.
I was in Bible school. I went to Bible school at 16 years old.
Right.
I dropped out of high school early, my senior year. I got on fire for God, man. My uncle, like I said, my uncle led me to Christ. I had all these questions about life, and we would start studying the scripture, and we would have home Bible study. So we would have Bible study, and I just became a Bible nerd, man. We did study, and I was at that time 15, 16, 14, 15, and 16.
Right.
And we would study at least 3 times a week. Right. So it was Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and Saturday nights. Okay. And we'd study for like 2 hours. And it was just questions and answers. Right. And then we would go through scripture. And we started Matthew, and we go verse by verse through the whole book. Wow. And then to Mark, and to Luke, and to John, and so on and so forth. And I just got into it. I fell in love with the scripture. Right. And it just touched my heart in such a serious way. So by my senior year, I had preached. This is the mind of a 16-year-old. Right. I preached to everybody in this freaking school, and everybody that was going to get saved. Right. They got saved, and everybody that was going to resist me, all they're doing is just resisting me and making fun of me every day because I was the kid that carried the big family Bible to school and talked to everybody. In fact, my nickname was Jesus Loves You. That was my nickname because it was like, there's that dude, that's that fool to say Jesus loves you to everybody. In the hallway, I'm talking to everybody in the hallway, trying not to be late on the way to school. Hey, yo, Jesus loves you, man. Hey, Jesus loves you. What's up? Jesus loves you, man. So they was like, there's that Jesus loves you, dude. Jesus freak, and like that. Right. That was my story, right? And so I thought, well, the Bible says go into all the world, preach the gospel. I'm going to shake the dust off my shoulder from these cats because I preach to everybody I wanted to or I can. Right. And I'm ready to go to save the world. Right. And so at 16 years old, I dropped out of high school. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I thought I was being, just on fire for God and being different. Second time I ever saw my uncle that helped raise me, my great uncle. Second time I ever seen him cry. Wow. In my life. Wow. I remember coming home and telling him, Uncle, I just dropped out of high school. I'm about to go preach the gospel. And I sat there and watched him cry. Wow. I didn't know. I'm like, what are you crying for? This is what we talk about. And he's like, you don't understand being a young black man in America in the 80s. Yeah. Nobody's going to want to listen to a dropout, high school dropout. The first thing they're going to ask you is your credentials. Right. Are you shaped enough in this American culture to present yourself as presentable. Right. But here we have the 80s where there was this kind of like this anti-hero image that was coming up, right? My dad told me, he said, I remember when I was 16, 17 years old, it was cool to wear a suit to school. Right. He said, in your generation when it was 16, 17 years old, it's cool to go to school with your pants down as if you didn't fully dress. Right. Right. So much over just one generation, everything changed. Right. And I told my dad, I think that was like, because it was the anti-hero. So many times we had this kind of Superman, the clean-cut hero that was the American way. And once we went through the 60s and we saw a lot that was happening in America that we had to bring to question and actually bring the case to say, if this is the American way, then we need to change America to something that's going to be better for everybody. Right. And so there was this pushing back against the hero image. Right. And I think that's what a lot that hip hop began to embrace. Right. to embrace this rebellious or rebel image that says, I'm not a rebel for just rebel's sake.
Right.
You know, I'm rebel without a pause, as Chuck D called it, right? I don't pause, but I do have a cause.
Right.
And the particular cause is that sense of what is justice for all, what is equality. That's, to me, what hip-hop was built a lot on. So anyway, back to my story. I'm just rambling. I'm just talking, man. So 16 years old, I go to a Bible school. I drop out of high school. I try to actually go and preach.
Right.
And I found real quick
right.
that nobody really wants to hear from a high school dropout.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's tough enough. Just even someone who's still in school at 16.
Yes.
That's just that in itself is tough to get.
Oh yes. And so I found out about this Bible school in Dallas.
Right.
Shout out to my alma mater, Christ for the Nations Institute. That was the school that I went to, and I would go there at 16.
Oh, wow.
And I remember going on campus for the first time and seeing all of these other kids, students that were on fire for God.
Right.
Man, I was so excited. I literally remember running across the campus.
Oh, wow.
Just enjoy, just like, this is my spot. These are my people.
Right.
This is my tribe, you know.
Right.
So I got in there and fell in love with it and started getting into a deeper level of studying the scripture. That was not, new to me, because as kind of coming up culturally, that's what we did. We studied scripture for 2 or 3 hours, 3 or 4 nights a week.
Right.
So I was into it and fell in love with it, and found out about all of these different type of outreaches. YWAM. We would go to Mardi Gras every year at the Mardi Gras, and we do a Mardi Gras outreach where we go preach. And so I started rapping on the streets as a way to, do outreach.
Right.
And as I was doing that, I started working at a church that was a local church. Shout out to, it's called South Winds now, but back then it was called Faith World.
Okay.
Faith World Church, and it changed from Faith World to Faith Family, and now to South Winds Fellowship. But beautiful, beautiful people, and they gave me a job, my first job as a youth pastor. So I was a youth pastor at about 17 years old, 18. And I was a kid working with youth, but nobody else would do it. This was the hood. We didn't have full-time youth pastors, youth workers. In fact, the pastor, he said, well, I'll bring you on. I can't bring you as a full-time youth pastor, but if you'd be interested in part-time as the janitor, cleaning up the church, part-time youth pastor, I was like, I'll take it. Because I can get my kids to clean up, because we're going to be the ones messing up anyway.
Right.
So anyway, I did that. I was part-time janitor at the church, part-time youth pastor. And from there, we started a rap group in the youth group.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And we would go out and do outreaches through our church, and I would do it through the school, CF&I.
Right.
And that's where I started rapping. And the name Preachers in Disguise didn't come from me. It was from another member in our group, Barry Hogan. Mm-hmm. And Barry, he was a student in our youth ministry, our youth group, and he was kind of dipping his finger and dipping his hand in the drug game a little bit. Right. And kind of got involved in that and just saw a lot of the pain, the brokenness there. Right. And I think that it woke him up. And he said, I don't really want to live like that. In fact, I want to live. Right. A lot of his friends were dying. And he said, I want to give my life to Christ, and I want to live for a cause. Right. And that was at the time that we were, doing outreach and like this call to save the world through the gospel, go into all the world. Right. I think that just attracted him, drew him in, and it drew me in, and we were like, okay, we're going to use this. And so Barry had a rhyme that he said, we're running for the prize. Don't look upon us to idolize. We're just Holy Ghost preachers in rap in disguise. Right. And that's where P.I.D, Preachers in Disguise, came from. Cool. Which now, I found out later. I didn't know this at the time when we started. Right. I was blessed to be able, and we were blessed to be able to kind of get in the whole evangelical Christian world with hip hop. Right. At the time, we tried to go through different ways, and sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. Right. We found a lot of times just the back roads. Yeah. Mainstream Christianity at the time just was like, you're rapping. That was like Christian rock was already still, controversial at that time. Right. And now you're doing hip hop. Yeah. So we would just go to the streets. We would just go straight do outreach, and that's where we get that love. Right. And
I would say, starting off, first of all, Christian Contemporary, they had all the spotlight.
Yeah. Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
And then when Christian rock and and Christian rap came in, it was hard to sell a church on that.
Oh, it was hard to sell a church.
Because I worked with Jesus and Hip Hop Gangsters.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was trying to book their gigs, and the second you say, "Hey, I'm bringing in a hip hop," they're like, we're not
gonna do that. In fact, one of our first, we did an event in Cornerstone. This was back in Chicago, the Cornerstone Music Festival.
Right.
That's where we first met Mike Peace. Okay. And Mike Peace came up to us and, man, we had, this was our get up. We had the British Knight, because that was a hip hop.
Right.
Like we wanted to, we knew it was Christian hip hop, but we said the only thing that was going to be different about us was literally the lyrics and our lifestyle.
Right.
The lyrics, the lifestyles, that we're not out here, getting wild, buck wilding and, messing around, running through women and doing drugs. No, we're actually doing ministry.
Right.
So real rappers rap about what they do.
Right.
NWA was popular back then, coming out, right? So they rapped about stories about what they did.
Right.
And so we said, well, we're going to do ministry, but we're going to rap about what we're going to do. We're actually going to live the life.
Right.
And then we're going to rap about it. But we'll look just like them.
Right.
We'll sound just like them. In fact, we'll be cool with them.
Right.
Because like Paul said, I'll become all things to all men that I may reach some.
Right.
So we had the gold chains, we had the British Knights,
Right.
And back then, everybody had to have their own style.
Right.
So couldn't come out with no Adidas. I remember once wearing Adidas, and we were going to go see Run DMC. They were coming through Dallas, came to town, and Run gave me this look because I had an Adidas suit on that he just cut me down to size with a look, because back then everybody had to have their own style.
Right.
You can't bite somebody else's style.
Right. Right.
So we decided to go with the black sweatsuits and the Kango hats and the shoes and all of that. And I remember wearing all of that and coming into churches and churches saying, what is this? Right. And we did Cornerstone. Mike Peace, he met us and he said, man, I love what you guys are doing. This is great. And he said, what I like is you guys have the sound of the street. You sound just like it. He said, but then he told me this, and it was a prophecy. It really was prophetic what he said. He said, people are going to love what they hear until they sit down and think about what they hear, because I've been listening to your lyrics.
Right.
And he said, the world is going to start off loving you until you're telling them the truth that you got to die to yourself.
Right.
And that you got to put Christ first. And he said, in that sense, you're gonna win some and then you're gonna lose some because of your message. The cross, as Paul said, is foolishness to those that don't believe. And that was true. That's pretty much a lot of our story, which I don't regret at all, because it's what we do. This is what we do. Christ said, this is on this rock I will build my church.
Right.
We got to build it on the cross. So that's what we set out to do. But anyway, we won this thing. So Mike Peace tells us that at the concert at Cornerstone, we got second place at this Cornerstone.
And just so people don't know, Cornerstone used to be this huge concert.
Oh, huge music festival, and where all of the underground Christian, so the Christian punk, the Christian hardcore metal, the Christian rap, all of that would perform there in Cornerstone, in Illinois. Right. Yeah, every year.
And you'd have, how many bands? There's there's a ton of bands. 30,
40 bands. It would be 6,000, 7,000 kids all out there, kind of like a big Woodstock.
Yeah. I forgot when they even stopped doing that. They used to do it every year.
Yeah, they did it every year. And I don't know if Cornerstone's still going on, but some of those music festivals, in fact, we just got invited to, back up in New York. It's a big music festival up in New York. I can't think the name of it. In fact, Mike Peace is a part of it. Okay. But it's a big music festival that we're looking at going up this summer and going to go do. But anyway, so we do the event. The second prize was a big free concert at a big church in Chicago.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
So we booked the concert because we won second prize. Right. And we come to the Chicago concert, and we have our turntables. Like, we literally would play our instrumentals and rap to the instrumentals on the turntables. Wow. Which was terrible if you're trying to dance and rap, because you would jump on the stage and skip, and then you have to figure out how to rap off beat. Right. So anyway, we bring our turntables out and all of that, and we're getting, and a pastor comes out and says, "Oh, I didn't know that you guys are really doing real rap." He said, "We just had a gang fight here on this neighborhood about 3 days ago. We can't have you guys play." And they shut down the concert because they were afraid that we were saying we'll do Christian rap. It's going to be we're going to show us where they are. We'll go talk to them and bring them in. But they were too scared. And so we got that a lot. We got that a lot. But every now and then we would get churches that were not scared.
Yeah.
And they would and we would do street outreaches, and we've seen some of the greatest parties and people just partying on the street. We've seen gangs come together. We've seen a lot of beautiful ministry and deliverance as a result of just using this genre, just using hip hop. So that's kind of been our story, and we love to do it. I've been blessed. I've been grateful, man.
Wow, that's great, man.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, when you did that concert over at in Cornerstone, did you have your tape out? Your
So we were it was just coming out. We were just coming out. So all we had was just Here We Are, and so we did several songs with that, and of course we had
I'm
a show.
positive that was the album that we got.
Yeah.
And I bet somebody got that CD or that tape.
It might
that concert,
be.
And that's how we ended up getting it.
Yeah, it might be because that was, and we were just stupid little kids, man. We were 18, 19 years old, and so we were, I think we got mad because the crowd went crazy because no one else was doing rap at that time. It was mostly all rock, and we felt like, man, we rocked that show. We rocked. We should got another one. And the guy that was putting the show on, his name was Caesar Kalinowski. Mm-hmm. So the first prize was a record deal with Caesar Kalinowski's record label, Tooth and Nail Records.
Yeah.
And so we won it. Like, we should have won it. And a rock band got it. And he came back and he was like, it's all political, man. But look, I'm going to sign you guys anyway. So we got signed through Caesar. And then later on, Tooth and Nail Records was bought out by Frontline Records.
Right.
And so this is actually on Frontline Records, but it may even on the back here have so he was Graceland Records. Tooth and Nail later bought Graceland, which Frontline bought them. So he was Graceland Records. But so that was our whole story, how we got signed, and we were blessed. We got signed, man, and did our thing, and did probably on our label with Frontline, we did 5 albums, I think.
Okay.
All together.
Yeah, I remember when Tooth and Nail first came out, they put out a lot of the alternative Christian.
Any of the cutting edge stuff that was out. I remember doing, and this was in Illinois, and this was like the 80s, 90s, and we were this emerging where it's okay to do Christian whatever alternative music.
Right.
So I remember somebody was doing some grunge type thing, and this dude got on and he's doing the thrashing guitar, and he's doing the Lord's Prayer. In the big, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy. Man, it scared the heck out of me. I was like, okay, Jesus, I'm really not sure if this is you. I'm just gonna back up against the wall just in case lightning strikes right now.
We used to play whenever Jesus and Hip Hop Casey, we had our own shows.
Yeah.
I used to play a lot of that stuff from Tooth and Nail.
Yes.
So, but they had the hardcore rock groups.
Yes.
You had the not even the screamo. It's like.
Oh gosh.
Blood
Good was one of them.
Yeah, there was a lot of them. 7 Foot Crutch was out there.
Yeah, 7 Foot Crutch.
And they had a lot of good, a lot of good rap.
A lot of good stuff, man. It was fun. It was fun times. It was a creative time. We were trying to be creative, and that's my thing. I love doing hip hop. I love doing where hip hop is, as well as I love looking. How can I take hip hop where? Like, what's next?
Right.
I strongly believe that as Christians, as creatives, our job is to kind of grab out of the ether, grab out of the air, and I call it like this, grab out of heaven.
Right.
What's already the sound that's there in heaven, how do I manifest that sound down here in earth?
Right.
So how do I, as a creative, find a way to get a little heaven on earth, man?
Right.
And that comes out in all kinds of ways. It does come out of screamo. I was joking about if lightning's going to strike, but I found out lightning didn't strike.
Right.
In fact, there was some kids that were just like in tears with their hands up with the same screamo, screaming the Lord's Prayer.
Right.
And I was like, oh, snap. So this is just simply their heartfelt language.
Right.
And it's a way that they connect with the divine. So I'm good with that, you know. I like to connect with the divine through hip hop, through rhyme.
Right.
And some people like to connect with the divine through, whirling dervish. They spinning in circles. I've been in Pentecostal churches.
Right.
That's what they do.
Right.
And I've been in Lutheran churches. I've been in Catholic churches where they like to sit in solitude and be still.
Yeah.
The main thing is let's connect with the divine.
Right.
Let's connect with God.
Right.
And find heaven on earth.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it took the churches a while to understand.
Yeah.
That's what that's what these kids were doing. They were relating to the music.
Yes.
A lot of the churches wanted to keep them,
boxed in.
Yeah, do want you guys to just listen to them. Nothing personal against like Michael W. Smith and all
Yes.
that, but but that wasn't that style. That's not what the kids
That
were
wasn't that
listening
style. But it was safe. It was safe to that particular culture.
Right.
And so stepping outside of that culture, in which, look at where we are 30 years later.
Right.
It was so important for us to understand the diversity.
Right.
And understand that we can still express and find God because God's just bigger.
Right.
Like Michael W. Smith is beautiful. Amy
Right.
Grant.
Right.
All of that is beautiful. But God is just bigger than that.
Right.
And so.
And they had their audience,
Yeah.
And I met Michael W. Smith. I've interviewed him.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy.
Yeah, he is.
But that music isn't what was reaching the young people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, I know, try to go in, bringing a group into a church just the way that,
Yeah, yeah.
But eventually, I think they started picking it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think, that, for you, what do you think that breakthrough point was for you guys?
Great question. Pinpoints of that breakthrough would kind of peek out and show
Right.
itself, where we would feel that embraced, we feel that connection, we feel that people got what we were getting.
Right.
I remember, I never forget doing an outreach, and a little blue-haired lady, old lady, came to us and said, "Baby, I don't know what you just said, but I know what I felt.
Right.
And I know that what you're doing is reaching this next generation. Keep
Right.
on doing it." That was bigger than a Grammy for me.
Right.
That was like, okay, that's where I need to go.
Right.
And then I would feel like going to an Indian reservation. I never forget going to Indian reservation, Window Rock, up in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And Window Rock, and seeing kids and holding, rocking the mic and having this party and this atmosphere where kids, just native kids, just getting it. They're just into it, and we're rhyming, and then the Spirit of God falls, and people are getting their lives right and getting saved and getting off of, just all kind of mess and drugs and
Right.
bitterness and unforgiveness, and getting themselves like, man, yeah, I'm going to go change the world. I'm going to reach
Wow.
the world. That's where it's at. I remember being in Haiti and
Wow.
doing rhymes. This is probably about a decade ago. And rhyming in Haiti, and kids was just jumping up and down and dancing, and
Wow.
it's just those little moments in the middle of the groove.
Right.
You're just in the groove, and it's almost like you can step out of yourself and look around and say, "Oh snap, this is it.
Right.
This is what heaven looks like, man. This
Right.
is it." And then just come back into it. And so it's those moments, man, that all of those moments, that are moments that spoke to me so many different ways. And then I've been blessed to be able. I remember one particular time where, it was just this sense of surrender, a sense of gratitude. I'll tell you two different moments. One, we did this way back in the 80s, back when, the Say No to Drugs type thing.
Right.
In fact, one of the songs on this album was called Just Say No.
Right.
And we did that in support to the campaign of Just Say No to
Right.
Drugs. And so we did that, and we performed at the Anatole Hotel.
Okay.
Down in Dallas, Texas.
Right.
All right off of Stemmons Freeway. And, we had just kids off the hood, out of the
Yeah.
hood. We're performing in front of 1,000 people
Right.
at a hotel with lights and stage.
And so for you guys who don't know, Dallas, Angelo is like a really high-end.
Yeah,
expensive-
high-end, classic,
Yeah.
expensive hotel.
Yeah.
So it's like playing at the Roxy type thing.
Right. Right.
And I remember being backstage and just crying my eyes out. I mean, ugly crying. You know that ugly,
Right.
oh, deserve this. Oh my God.
Right. Right.
And just wiping them tears and going and rocking as hard as I can.
Wow.
And loving the moment. So that's one moment I remember. And then I was part of an event called DCLA.
Okay.
DCLA was a big do an evangelism training event, and so we had maybe about 7,000 kids.
Oh wow!
And we were in D.C., Washington D.C., and we were about to go on stage. I was about to go on stage and perform a project that I did where it was called the project is called The Script.
Okay.
What I did is I took the entire book of John and translated it verse by verse into rhyme, into rap.
Oh wow!
Okay, and so my goal was to take where hip hop meets scripture.
Right.
And so I was like a performer. So I was kind of like they called me Gospel John. Okay, right. In the performance, right? So I'm doing this live performance, and I'm about to perform rhyming the scripture for 7,000 kids.
Wow.
I met that moment again. I'm back.
Right.
I call it ugly church. That's what I call it. I was having some ugly church by myself back behind stage because, I mean, we're about to go up and David Crowder is on stage and you know Rebecca St. James is rocking and then I get a chance to go out and rock with them and rock on that level. And I'm just backstage crying ugly. Just, I deserve this. Oh, God, I'm so grateful for the moment. Now, give me the mic. Let me wipe these tears. Let me go kill this. Okay, let me go do this thing.
Right.
And I rhyme the scripture. What a beautiful... So it's those moments like that where, you know, I may not get human recognition. Right. You know, I did a line once I said, maybe I get a Grammy if I sound like Sammy and I sing, Mammy, how I love you, how I love you.
Right.
Okay. And I said that to say, maybe I could do that.
Right.
And maybe I can do the pop songs. Maybe I can do the songs that's all the illicit stuff, you know, and I do about illicit life and sex and drugs and all of that. Maybe I could get a Grammy on that.
Right.
But I just like the purity. I like being over here.
Right.
I like doing it like this.
Right.
And if heaven's cheering me on, I'm good.
Right. Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, you know, when you're doing, you know, Christian, you know, at the end of the day, you know you're making a difference in somebody's life. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
As long as you know you go to bed and you're like, hey, I made a difference in someone's life.
Yeah.
Someone in that 7,000 made a life altering change.
That's it.
That's it.
As long as what I'm doing, I feel that it's making God smile.
Right.
I'm good because God can use it.
Right.
And I believe He does. I've been blessed to hear a lot of people years after the years. So many people that come back and say, "Man, your song saved my life."
Right.
You know, I remember listening to this and listening to that, or this song, or this particular line, this rhyme you had here, where, man, I remember listening to that and I just quoted over and over again until it got me out. Boom. That's it.
You just
that's
heard that today too.
Yeah.
From Ralph.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. So, from hearing dude, and I'm so grateful when I hear that, man. Somebody's like, yeah, I was a kid. And I'm now it's funny because I'm a little older. Right. So I'm here seeing older cats saying, yeah, man, I was young and I used to put rock your stuff. So it's fun, man. It's fun. It's fun.
So for all the new rappers that are coming out, what kind of advice would you give someone like that?
I would say that continue to. I had a friend that he used the word woodshed, and what he would mean when he say I got a woodshed is that I got to get away. I can no longer just do what I used to do as far as like survive off of my old songs.
Right.
You know, I can go out and play the hits. Everybody likes the hits. You know, they like the songs that they knew me as. But as an artist, you got to know how to cut away and get back to that place where the creation really took place in the first place. Right. Like where you had what caused you to want to start performing in the first place? What caused you to because you know you got to be halfway crazy to just jump up and get up in front of people and display some type of style, whatever it is that you do, whatever it is you do for you to perform it in front of people, what inspired you? How do you get back to that place of inspiration? My friend called it woodshed. He's like, I got to go back to the woodshed. I got to go back to that place and go dig something out. And so I would say continue to fall in love with that woodshed experience. Go back. That's what makes you great is you go back to that place where it all started and get something, pull something new, pull it out of the ether, man. Pull it out of heaven and display it here on earth. That's what I would say. Keep going back. And even if you don't get anything new, for you to go back to that 0 point, for you to go back to where it all started, that's what keeps you alive. I had a great speaker that I got a lot of respect for. He was a mentor of mine, is Josh McDowell.
Right.
And I've traveled with him for close about 8 years, almost a decade.
Wow.
And so back in the day, I asked him, it's like, man, how do you do this in front of, 8,000 kids, 7,000 people? You just talk your talk, and do your thing. And he said, a lot of times I'll give the same talk.
Right.
And so I can relate to that because I'm an artist, so I'll sing the same song.
Right.
And so he says, it's not new to me, but the experience is new to that person hearing it for the first time or hearing it in that setting like that.
Right.
And he said, what I've learned that I got to bring to it is I got to bring myself being in an emotional place and being in a place where it feels like it's new to me as I'm doing it.
Right.
If you're not careful as an artist, you'll get burnt out and you're just doing all of the old stuff. Even if you're a speaker, you're telling all of the old stories that's 20, 30 years. Get back to the woodshed experience. Get back to that 0 point where you connect with creativity and you connect with God, connect with the divine, and something brand new happens in you. Then you take that fiery brand new thing out on that stage. And even if you're doing an old song, it still feels and sounds so brand new. People need newness.
Right.
That's what they need. They need something fresh. That's what we would call it back in the day.
Right.
Okay, hip hop, we say this is fresh.
Right.
You need that freshness.
Right.
And people need that experience. So go give them that experience. It lifts them higher. Especially, the times we living in now. It's so much going on in the world that's just crazy. They're coming to you for that experience that pulls them out of time. Right. They're coming to you for that experience that gets them out of their mess, out of their craziness, so they can just have a moment that touches eternity. Well, you can be that bridge. The only way you can be that bridge is you got to, in your secret place, go back and touch eternity yourself. So keep doing that.
So the other thing I was going to say, too, is, rap music has changed so much.
Oh, yeah.
From, back in the day, it was always about the experience, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's just,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
My son, like he was a big Juice WRLD, and all these other, these new rappers.
Yeah.
And I listen to the stuff that they do now, and I'm like, I can't relate at all to what we came from, man.
Yes. George Clinton said, you're old when the music that you hear today, you begin to criticize it and you don't like it. It's something that something about it you just don't like. He said that's when you know you're old. Right. Because all of a sudden you've outlived your era, your place of comfort, into something that's new, and now you immediately want to criticize it because you want to pull it back to that old era. Right. So, and he's like, for him, George Clinton, he's like, I just figured out how to learn how to continue to remake myself, to reinvent myself. And so, I listen to kids now. I listen to stuff now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's sounding just like, where I come from, it was cool to, like, the rule of thumb was to not sound like the newest one. That's a line that I actually do in one of my rhymes. The rule of thumb was not to sound like the newest one. Right. But now we have folks that everybody, if this is what's new, we want to jump on that and sound like that. And, that's where they are. That's what people are doing.
Here's the other thing with the new music, too, is that a lot of these kids, I think, are desperately looking for help. Yeah. Juice WRLD was crying out for help. My son keeps sending me these videos. He's like, listen to his story. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I hear a kid who's just crying out for help. And then you see all these, most of these rappers now, they don't make it past 25 years old. Yeah. They're getting shot up. They're dying of drugs. They're
mad fast. It's just going fast. It's like the intensity. Have you noticed the intensity has like crunk all the way up, turned all the way up to where it's intense now. Everything, So you're right. A lot of folks are crying out, and I think that the voice of hip hop, what hip hop articulates, is where people are at. Right. And so I think we're hearing just that articulation of people, just like you said, crying out for help, and that's so important to do it. to be able to listen, to hear it. We as like people that care, people that have compassion, people that are kind, need to actually hear that and hear the cry inside the cry.
Right.
And just say, okay, we and I tell you, in my opinion, is more than just other hip hop artists bringing some philosophical answer.
Right.
I think we need to do what I'm seeing different other rhymers and rappers do as well, is build relationships with these guys. Right. And even at the expense of getting, disrespected by the church. Is like, they'll look at a Lecrae and it's like, man, why you down with all these folks? Why aren't you preaching to them? Right. It's like, yeah, I'm preaching to them. What was it, Francis of Assisi? He said, preach the gospel at all times. Right. And if possible, use words. Right. Or if needful, use words. Right. And I think what he's saying there is that you preach the gospel with your life and your lifestyle. Right. The ability to build a relationship where those people see you in your down and you're up. And then they see overall, oh my gosh, Lecrae is really living what he's talking about. Right. Or, I put a Kurt Franklin in this situation and then I noticed how he got himself out. He ain't living like that. Right. It's a lot of guys that's living and they're falling into they're giving into their flesh, they're giving into these desires. Right. But there's a lot of cats that's out there that's saying, no, I've done that, been there, done that. I know there is something more, and I'm on that path of finding that thing that's more. I think you got to connect those people with these Juice World type people. You got to connect them. One cat that I love, he said it like this. He says, I think everybody needs to be in relationship with somebody who is in a true relationship with Jesus. Right. That's what they need. We used to say everybody needs to hear the gospel. I think everybody needs to see the gospel lived out. Right. Not just hear it, especially in our country, because you hear it all around, and now a lot of people saying now, you just talking loud, ain't saying nothing. Right. So they need to see somebody. They need to actually be tangible. Right. Look at what it said, John, in 1 John. It says, that which we have seen, which we have felt, which we have touched with our own hands concerning the words of life. What he was saying was that, this thing about Jesus is not something that we heard about secondhand. Right. We walked with this man for 3 years. We touched him with our own hands, the words of life. That's what I'm bringing to you. Right. And people need to know somebody that knows Jesus for real.
And so my next question is, how do people like you and I reach out to people like that and be able to?
I think in continually building relationships. There are some rappers out there that are some of my favorite MCs that behind the scenes, through email and through social media and all, that we just have a dialogue. Right. I'm in dialogue with them, and I don't judge them. Right. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to say, hey, this is what I love about what you do. Right. Man, I love your art. I love your artistry. This is what I do. Right. And this is what I do and how I do what I do when I need it the most. Right. And I'm just offering that. And so I've been blessed to have some dialogue back and forth with some of these cats. And they know now I'm a reference. Right. So the best thing that I could say, answering your question, is become a resource. Right. I got a line that I said in one of my latest albums that I did, that I said, I'm connected to source. Right. And in recourse, I become a resource. Right. Because I'm connected to source. So when I connect to source, and then in recourse in my connection with you, right, now I become just the conduit. Right. So now I am a resource because I'm connected to source. Right. That's what this world needs. They need resources, and those resources are in us, and they're really found in relationships. Not just us blasting, the latest rapper that comes out. Everybody really went crazy on Lil Nas, and I get it. If I'm going to say something about the devil, dance with the devil, something like that, that's just kind of, it's like, ill, bro, But if he has some people around him saying, I know you wildin', you doing it just to get views, you doing it just to get, but when all of those views are gone, when all of that hype is gone, when you got to do the next gimmick just to get put on, and then when you're feeling that you're worse, and now you're feeling like you're just, this media being used, people just using you up, I'm going to be here. Right. I'm going to be here, and I want to talk, and I want to stay in relationship with you, and because I want to see your life I want to see you live.
Right.
I'm blessed to be 55 years old.
Right.
I want some of my favorite rhymers to find out what it's like to be 55.
Right.
I want some of my favorite rhymers, some of my favorite hip-hop artists to know what it's like to raise kids that respect you once they're grown.
Right.
Because you live that life in front of them.
Right.
I want rappers to know what it's like to have a spouse and love that spouse and that spouse love you deeply.
Right.
And that's the greatest love story of all.
Right.
That's what I protect the most.
Right.
So that's what I want them to have.
Right. And that's good advice too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you said, a lot of these kids are, these rappers are they're crying out for help.
Crying out.
And unfortunately, they sit around themselves with a lot of yes men. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's, and then I look at that. I mean, if I had the money,
Yeah.
if I had the chance, would I go down that route and try it? Yeah, I probably would. I probably would try it too. And they're trying it.
Right.
And the truth is, we're seeing them trying it, and they deeply know.
Right.
They'll tell you, oh, it's fun, it's great, but they deeply know it's not working.
Right.
It's not working.
And it's just sad that they're dying at such a young age.
Yeah.
And we're losing, I don't know how many we lost this year alone.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Well, everybody with the word little or baby on it.
Yeah.
We losing the little ones and the babies. We can't lose the little ones and the babies.
And then you
they
got kids,
grow.
18, 19,
Yeah,
like you said,
man.
They're not, they haven't even begun, their journey.
Hadn't even began. I want to see rhymers, I want to see rappers get gray hair.
Right.
That's what I want to see.
Right.
I want to see them make it to their old and gray. Because the older you get, it's just like wine. Just your rhymes, they get better. Your insight, your vocabulary begins to grow.
Right.
One of the happiest stories in hip hop I've seen, I'm looking at, is Snoop. I remember when Snoop was rhyming that, we don't love them hoes.
Right.
And literally did not love them hoes.
Right.
And I remember in watching his whole transition of, I fell in love with somebody and she's not a hoe.
Right.
Oh, so it's some folks that you can love that's
Right.
not hoes.
Right.
Now I have, young men and I have girls and they're not hoes. I don't
Right.
want them to ever be seen as hoes. So how do you do that? And just watch him from we don't love them hoes to living my best life.
Right.
What a trajectory, man.
Right.
How did you get there? Now, hearing his life story,
Right.
can't wait to hear his autobiography,
Right.
hear his life story. How did you get there? And where else is there to go?
Right.
Because once something about living a better life, it's addictive.
Right.
Man, the more, when I wake up as a father, having kids come in the room and daddy, oh, that's addictive. Coming home and
Right.
having my kids hug me and embrace me and want me to be there.
Right.
That's addictive. One of the most important moments of my life that I reflect back to when I need the strength the most
Right.
is simply a family hug on Christmas.
Right.
That I brought my whole family in the middle of our house and we all hugged. And my son told me, he said, you know what, I'm so glad because this time last year I was going through such depression
Wow.
that I thought about killing myself.
Wow.
And he said, I'm glad I didn't do it. Dude, there is no reward.
Right.
There is no award. There is no Grammy. There is no recognition from so many hits or so many people streaming streams that can compare with
Right.
that.
And to me, it goes beyond that too.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of your, your Facebook posts where you're in there with all these youth.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of youth who still go through the same thing.
Yeah.
Who still relate to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see that. I see it in their eyes that they.
Yeah.
As soon as you walk in a room, they're excited to see you, and a lot of these kids don't have father figures, and they don't have, that kind of hope at their house.
Right.
And
Right.
for you to live as long as you have,
Yeah.
to be able to demonstrate that.
Yeah.
That's what these rappers now to understand
That's what
too.
That's what we want them to see. We want them to get because we have some MCs that have amazing talent.
Right.
Amazing talent. How can you live a life that will carry that talent to a deeper level of maturity?
Right.
So it doesn't burn out like a star.
Right.
I think we still, since the days of James Dean,
Right.
we've had this idea of die young, looking
Yeah.
good. And that's one way to do it. But man, it's so much more better to actually live old.
Right.
Get old.
Yeah.
So a year ago, man, we had I see you see this is mic drop.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did our documentary.
Right.
And so a year ago, I got a chance to grace the stage and rhyme some of our old stuff. And
right.
you know, you can check out, just look up Mike Drop the movie and see some of it. And I'm rocking, I'm sweating, rocking, having a good time, and great. I'm loving it. At an old age,
right,
to be able to do that, like I'm telling you, trust me, it took us like 4 months of working out every day,
right,
to get back to the place where we used to. Because we said, in fact, it was Dynamic Twins, D2.
Right,
right. We was all on the phone, D2, Soup, all of us. We were all talking and stuff.
Right.
And this was right before Solo died.
Oh.
So Solo was on the phone with us, and we were all in trouble. And I think it was D2 came over and said, "Okay, so we're gonna watch, and whoever's rocking on stage,
right,
whoever runs out of breath first,
right,
you know." So we was like, "Look, we ain't running out of breath.
Wow.
So we're gonna go jog. We're gonna get our workout on,
right,
and get our workout up to the point." And we got up to that place where it's like, okay, we can rock 4 or 5 songs nonstop,
right,
you know, full tilt and just go. And we did that, and it felt so good. That was last year.
Wow.
Okay. This year, about a month ago,
right,
I was just telling you,
yeah,
I had a pulmonary embolism.
Right.
I didn't even know what that was.
Right.
Okay, but I had a blood clot in my leg that broke off from my leg, went through my body, it went through the left side of my heart,
right,
and it stopped. It lunged right at my lungs.
Right.
So I get out to go jog, and I jog a half a block.
Wow.
And I'm out of breath, and I'm like, "What's going on? I'm out of breath." I sit down, and when I sit down, I black out.
Oh, wow.
And when I black out, I'm in downtown streets, downtown Dallas. Something I'm in just total darkness, and it feels so good. I'm not breathing hard. I'm feeling good. And some say, "Fool, you in the streets,
right?
You in these streets on your back. Get up!" And I'm like, "Okay, I gotta get up. Right. And I get up, and I realize something's wrong.
Right.
So go to the hospital. My wife got me to the hospital because I told you, listen to your spouse, man. Yeah. My wife was like, "You need to go to." "Oh, I'm all right. She's like, "Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to the hospital right now.
Right.
And I'm gonna drop my car off so my son works at the hospital. So Jordan can have a ride home, and I'm just gonna be up there. So if you're gonna come, because I'm just gonna be, she know I'm not gonna just leave her out there, stuck out there.
Right.
I'm on my way. I'm gonna come. I go to the hospital. And they said, "Yeah, you could have died.
Wow.
You could have died." And so to still be here now,
right,
I'm so grateful. And then what's so a blessing to me is how many people came and said, "We can't lose you.
Right.
You mean too much,
right,
to us. To have lived a life for 55 years where
right,
I mean something to someone,
right.
That's why I want these rappers to experience.
Right.
Not that you mean something to your label that you can make money for them.
Right.
But you mean something to children. You mean something to your children.
Right.
You mean something to your family. You mean something to those that love you. That's why you have your talent. Go out there and mean something to somebody.
That's what it's about, man.
That's what it's about.
Yep. You know, I tell people all the time, you know, I don't care what you do for a living. You know, your purpose is to serve other people.
To serve other people.
And, you know, if you die young, you've missed your purpose.
That's it.
Because you're not there serving something.
That's
it.
it.
You're serving the,
That's it.
and people want to, you know, act like the word serving is like this awful word now. But that's what you were created to do.
Service to others. When I think about God, okay, God is the highest of all. He sits high, as the Bible says, but he looks low. What does that mean? God serves everyone, everything. The one that is over everyone, how do you know he's serving? That breath that you just breathed.
Right.
Service of the divine. Right. We wouldn't have had it if he did not provide the situation to where we could actually breathe that, and he serves us all. So here's the Almighty, is really the all vulnerable, the almost feeling, the one who's touched with all of our feelings and knows just what we need when we need it, and is good enough to give it to us.
Right.
You need that breath, I give that breath freely.
Right.
You need that sun, I give that light freely. Not like the sun's never said, "You know what, I got this debt. You know, yeah, all these days I shine on you. When you gonna pay the bill? Doesn't do that.
Right.
The sun just freely shines and gives us all we need. All we have to do is just mimic the sun.
Right.
Come out and shine.
And you think about just the message of the gospel. God came down in flesh.
Yes.
To serve.
To serve.
That's it. That was his whole purpose.
That's
just
it.
come serve.
That's it. Because that's what the sun does.
Right.
The sun shines, it serves, it gives.
Right.
It gives it light. That's what we do. That's what we do. We serve. And in serving, I have come to find such fulfillment in life.
Right.
I really have. Yeah. I'm a happy kid. I'm a happy kid. Got more days to go.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're still here, man.
Hey, I'm glad, man. I'm here too, man.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what are you working on now? What do you got going on?
I just finished a project,
Okay.
and I have, over the decade, this last decade, I have become a big fan of contemplative lifestyle. So, in other words, being still. The scripture says in Psalm 40, Psalm 146, 148, be still and know that I am God.
Right.
Okay. In the Jewish Bible, that's the actual middle point of their entire verse.
Right.
The scriptures. This is the very middle point of their entire scriptures. Be still and know, which I think strikes the very balance of all of our lives.
Right.
There are times where you got to just settle down, be still, and come to a place of you inwardly knowing.
Right.
Not know up here, but know in here.
Right.
Deeply know who God is.
Right.
Deeply know that I am God. And that's, for me, has come through mindfulness and meditation.
Right.
So I've become a big fan of meditation and mindfulness.
And I noticed on Facebook that you do these meditations.
Yeah, so it's become, and there's a big meditation community out here.
Right.
You know, out in these streets, in these cyber streets. Okay, there's a lot of folks doing it, and it's all. I mean, it's the streets.
Right.
So you got a little bit of everything out here, right?
Right.
Well, my goal is, how can I, from a Christian standpoint, or at least rooted in Christianity,
Right.
how can I talk through and help lead and guide what meditation would look like from a biblical foundation.
Right.
And I've just come to find out, wow, I mean, we have centuries of that same tradition of people practicing the presence of God. In fact, this, when I first started to work on this project, I was going to call it practice. Because I'm a big fan of Brother Lawrence and the book Practicing the Presence of God. This dude was a cook in a monastery.
Oh, wow.
He wasn't even a monk. He cooked for the monks.
Right.
But he would just, it all started with a premise that he said, I'm going to pray, and instead of saying amen, I'm not even going to say amen. I'm just going to pray, and then it's going to be like, I'll be right back, got to do some things, and then he'd come back and pray.
Right.
And what he found out is like what the other mystic, another mystic, Teresa of Avila, she said that you find God in the pots and pans. God's even in the pots and pans. God is everywhere. So when you kind of pray without stopping, as Paul said, pray without ceasing, you all of a sudden find God in so many ways. And this dude wrote a book, Practicing the Presence of God. And because all of the monks and everybody was like, this dude is a cook, but the presence of God was so up on him and so within him that people would come to say, how did you get it? How did you do it? Right. He said, well, it started out with praying without saying amen.
Oh, wow.
I just pray, and then I'd go on and then I'd come back to it because I realized he was there all the time anyway.
Right.
And the more I talked to him, the more he talked to me, and we developed this ongoing relationship. You know, and man, there is so many traditions of people. There was another dude by the name, he got the nickname Sapphire because he would shine with the glory of God. Now, this was 200-300 years ago, and they wrote about it. Right. People like Teresa of Avila, she would get in a meditative state and pray and worship, and then she would begin to levitate. Okay, and she had folks that would hold her down like, no, I know, that's too much for some folks. I know, it's kind of, you're like, oh, that's out there, that's too much for me. But you know what? You can never get enough if you're hungry. You can eat just what you're full for a day, and then guess what? I'm going to come back. I never heard anybody like, that's too much food, that's too much. You know, I'm going to need some for tomorrow. I'm going to need, next week I'm going to need some. So I'm just going to keep coming back and feeding. And for me, meditation, contemplation had become a big, big thing. I had become a fanboy of it. I just fell in love with it. And literally it saved my life. It saved my marriage when I learned how to just be still, breathe deeply, and in that breath and in that stillness, sense God's presence. Then when I leave from that closet, that presence goes with me. I treat my kids better. I treated my wife better. I treated others around me better, all because it came from that centered place, and I built that center. So I wanted to figure out how to do a project for it. So I did a project called Sacred Hum. You can go to sacredhum.com and see it, and it's where hip hop meets meditation. And the whole idea is I did about 4 or 5 songs where it's just kind of talking about meditation, celebrating what it is. I do a song called The Hum. It's the hum. Where'd it come from? Have you noticed it? Sitting in the lotus, get quiet, calm the cognizant. Hold in the oxygen and just hold it in. Stay inside the moment. It'll take you where you're supposed to get. The effect is like a barbiturate without the addictiveness that them barbs hit you with. Okay, now what I'm talking about is just the power of getting in God's presence and what that presence does to you and does to the world. But then I have about 6 or 7 also songs on it that are actual guided meditations, where I send folks through. One of my favorite ones, the longest one on it, is I call it the Jesus Hug, where I take a person through a guided meditation where they meet with the Master in that meditative state, and they just allow Jesus to hug them, and all of the pain, all of that just is absorbed into Jesus. And Jesus in turn trades with you more deeper light and love. And then you walk from that secret place. Like that, I wanted to do that. Now, whether that gets blown up online, people get 100,000 streams, I would love that. But what I want more is people understand, like especially me as a creative and as an artist, did I get this thing out of me that was in me? And I felt so good because I felt that I got it out of me. I feel that I got maybe about 4 more, 5 more albums like that I want to do, but there's on those type of things. And right now, meditation is my thing, and I love doing that. So you guys can check it out. It's called The Sacred Hum.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up too, because you know, I've had several people that I've talked to, like especially people who battle with anxiety, depression. You know, some have battled with drug addiction. And they talk about how they found meditation, and anytime they start feeling that, you know, that they're starting to get depressed or start feeling anxiety, they'll just go into like a kind of a meditation, and it calms them down. Yeah, man, it's real. It's really real. It's really real. There's a great book that came out that's called The Body Keeps the Score, and this with working with students. I personally, you know, I'm a Bible nerd. I'm a theology nerd. But I'm also in the business of care, knowing how to give real care, practical care to people. And so I read a lot and I study a lot. I just finished my master's in theology online, and I'm looking at going back to school and fulfilling more. I want to do this. My thing. And so there's a great book out that's called The Body Keeps the Score, and the body is talking about how trauma is often trapped within our bodies. So we may deny it in our head, or we may tell everybody, I ain't hurt. But the body knows. And the body keeps the score of everything. Everything that's happened. That's in fact, I think from a theological stand, I think that when we stand before God, our body's going to tell the whole story. There is an old tradition, Jewish tradition, that the stick that Abraham held. And that was passed on, that the staff that Jacob, when the scripture says that Jacob stood leaning on his staff, the Jewish folklore is that on that staff there was actually written his life story, and some of his most important moments of his life, almost like a diary, like a journal, that he carried that. He stood on his journal. He stood on his life story. I think that what God is doing, and it's just the way we're wired and the way we're created, is our life story is written within our DNA. It's written in our whole story. When we stand before God, we don't have to, it's there, it's open, the whole story. And much of the story that we deny, that we say, oh, it didn't hurt. You know, you hear so I hear, it didn't hurt, it hurt, it hurt. It hurt, you hurting. I remember I was with one of the youth in my youth group years ago. Now he's grown, got kids now, probably got grandkids. But I remember he was had a heart attack.
As a young man, he was in his 30s, he had a heart attack.
Right.
So several of us that were guys that were in my youth group that I youth pastored them, that we all went to go see him.
Right.
We was like, bro, how you doing, man? He's like, I'm good. And one of them knew he was a hothead, especially when it came to, certain people. And so he was in a relationship with somebody that he had a hard time forgiving. Right. He said, well, you just gotta, bro, you gotta really be forgiving. Right. He's like, oh, I'm good. He's like, and they brought the person's name. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the monitor started beeping, boo, 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 loud. And we all, including him, just fell out laughing. And then they went down. Right. Because we all knew, you still pissed off. Right. You're still mad. You haven't forgiven this person. I don't need to forgive him. Boom, 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 and the body keeps the score. Right. We can say that it's not bothering us. We're not in trouble. We're not in pain. But that body is like, and something about getting in the presence of the divine, it heals you. It restores you. That's what David said. He restores my soul. And then Jesus said it like this: come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest for your soul. I will restore your soul. Something about being in the presence of Jesus in stillness. He said it well when he was leaving. He said, just abide with me. And they were saying, how are we going to abide and you leave it? And he said, I'm bringing the comforter. Right. So we have spiritual access, and it's simply by getting quiet, being still. In that same rhyme, I said, breath is ever present, so you don't ever have to wait. Right. Just let the blessing manifest in your chest. And yes, ride that wave. Wow. Ride that wave. Just breathe and be still in God's presence, and then all of a sudden, it just starts to balance out, and you're like, okay, I know how I need to handle this. Right. Instead of just going off the top all the time and just going crazy. How many times have you tried to go off the top and that don't work no more? Yep. It's not working in this environment because you got to try something new. And I want to encourage you to try that.
Cool. That's great advice, too.
That's what's up.
So, and especially nowadays where we have so much to distract.
Dude, it's wild out here. It's wild out here, man.
Everything. You got all this stuff distracting us. You got the media trying to divide us. Sometimes you just need to stop. Yeah. Put all that aside.
Put it all aside.
And just catch your breath, man.
Yes, man.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good, brother.
Hey, that's what's up.
So tell us, what kind of links do you have out there that?
Sure. A good way to reach me out there is I have a website. It's just simply fredlynch.org. Cool. Just simple Fred. Okay. Lynch. LYNCH.org, fredlynch.org. All the social media, you can find me by just typing in the social media, just type, hey, Fred Lynch. So if it's Facebook, hey, fredlynch.facebook.com. If Twitter, hey, Fred Lynch. IG, Instagram, hey, Fred Lynch. So if you just put hey, Fred Lynch, you'll reach me out there. All right, cool. I'm loving what we're doing with Sacred Hum. We've been performing and doing it. I've been doing it in colleges, which has been real fun and real cool. So if you're a college out there or a school or something and you guys would like to explore what going through meditation is like, then I'm telling you, it makes your grades better. It makes your relationships better. It makes you as a person better. So if you don't come through here, where I'd love to partner with you to do it, but if you don't come through here, find it anywhere you can. Go online and do it. It's so much easier to do it for free. And as I said in a rhyme, breath is ever present, so you don't ever have to wait. So go on and get that.
Yeah. And one last thing before we go. Yeah. You gotta tell them about this.
Oh yeah, mic drop the movie, man. So the movie right now we're looking at it coming out. They're telling us in the fall. Okay. We've been working with them. So Warner Brothers distribution, they signed it, and so it's kind of in their pipeline now, and so we've been doing a lot of work with it. But basically, what Mic Drop the movie is a documentary. Right. Talking about the beginnings of hip-hop, Christian hip-hop. Right. And so from P.I.D, Super C, SFC, Social for Christ, Dynamic Twins, Freedom of Soul, all of us cats that was just out there, we didn't even know what we was doing. Right. We didn't know we were making history. We were just out there just rhyming, just doing concerts, just doing rocking, and didn't realize that it was almost kind of like the whole story of the blues starting, those chitlin circuits where you just go, it wasn't no big established arenas. businesses or nothing like that. And so you just go into clubs, you just go into churches. That's what we would do. And so there's a great documentary that just came out. So we're expecting Netflix to pick it up as well.
Right, cool.
But it tracks the story, the ups and the downs.
Right.
Like we got a part in it where I tell a story about us actually standing in someone's yard in Indiana the night before they had a cross burning.
Oh, wow.
And the cross was still smoldering.
Wow.
And we're in the yard taking a picture until the folks in the house, they come out with guns saying, get off our property. And we're like, so anyway, great. This is a great fun movie. It was fun to do, to be a part of. And Darius West, I got to give a shout out to the guy that produced it, and it was his brainchild. It's been 6 other people that have tried to do a documentary on this caliber and this level for Christian hip hop, and it hadn't. Right. But it was that 7th guy, and Darius is that 7th guy. He's my dude, man. Love him. And so he just we just got it through Warner Brothers, and so it's coming out soon. You can go to micdropthemovie.com and you'll see the trailer for it. So go check out the trailer, and you'll see us talking about it. You know, cool. You'll see us without the gray when we was young and spry, and used to run around on the microphone on the stage and do what we did.
Cool.
So that's what's up.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you so much for being on the show, brother.
It's a pleasure, Parks. It's good to see you, man.
All right, man.
All right.
So thank you so much, brother.
Indeed.
All right, guys. So remember to hit that subscribe button. So every time we have a new show come up on the pop up, you'll be able to see the show. Hit that notification button. And again, if you like what you see, the content that you're watching, hit that like button, share, and definitely leave us a comment. And we want to know what you guys think about the show. And again, if you have any questions, for our artists, put the comment in, and you guys will see the
oh yeah, I watch the show, man. You got a good show coming on.
I appreciate it.
This is great information for folks to have. So this is good, man.
I appreciate that, brother. All right, so until next week, remember, you're uniquely designed with a purpose, and always keep moving forward. Peace.